All right, folks, let's go live everywhere. Let me click a couple buttons here. And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to InDesign Tuesday. My name is Terry White, Worldwide Design and Photography Evangelist for Adobe. It's my pleasure to be streaming to you live on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon, and I hope it's beautiful wherever you are all over the world. As a matter of fact, Colleen's here from South Africa, Jasik, Mark, Valdair, and is that Plurtichal Company? Welcome. Hopefully I said that correctly. Defeer is here, Victoria's here, everyone's here. So we are live on InDesign Tuesday. And today's topic may not sound all that exciting, but it's one of those things that if you're an InDesign user and you're going to lay out documents that are more than a few pages, then this will come in handy. Plus, we're going to throw some surprise tips at you along the way. And hopefully you will learn something new that you did not know about numbering pages and doing continuations and all kinds of things inside of InDesign. So I see Basant, Debbie, and Barbara just joined us, as well as Adolf, Ben, and others all the way from Iraq. Wow, welcome. So let's get started. I'm going to switch over to my computer so you guys can see what I'm working on here. And I got a magazine already going. I can't take credit for this because I got lazy today and just said, you know what, rather than start from scratch, I just headed over to stock.adobe.com and grabbed a couple of templates. So these templates, I believe, were free. I don't think I had to pay for these. And this one was fortunately for me, but unfortunately for you, only has the one page. It only has the cover. This one has multiple pages, and of course, many of these have multiple pages. But this actually works out great because there's nothing else in it besides the cover, and therefore I get a chance to show you how to do stuff from scratch. All right, so if you don't have a template, just go to InDesign, create a new document, make it whatever size you want, 8.5 by 11 in my case, 12 pages, start on page number 1, facing pages, no primary text frame, and 6 columns. So even for the people that don't want to go grab a template, you can create an empty document from scratch to work along with us. All right, so I'm going to go back to my sample document. And again, this only has the one page. There are no other pages here. And we're going to go create some other pages right now. Before we create those other pages, though, we are going to talk about, well, actually, no, you know what? We can go ahead and add the pages first. Let's do that. So I'm going to insert pages. I'm going to insert 11 pages after page 1. So that'll give me 12 total, and it just did it. Now you notice that, of course, all 11 pages except for the cover are blank. So just like the other 12-page document, the only difference between yours and mine is I have a cover. You don't yet unless you go make one. So it's not about designing the cover. It's really about the page numbering for all these other pages. So how do we do page numbers? Now, what I don't want you to do is go to page 2, create a frame, type a 2. I don't want you doing that anymore. So if you were doing that because you were new to InDesign, there is a much better way. Now, also, if you're using this particular template, you'll notice that it opens in preview mode. So preview mode is down here on the tool panel. You can switch to normal mode and you'll see all the guides and everything. Or you can use the keyboard shortcut. As long as you're not typing, you can hit the letter W to jump to preview mode and hit the letter W to jump out. All right, Anne-Marie Concepcion, welcome. Glad that you are here as well. Let's go ahead, and Thomas Benner's here, welcome. Let's go ahead and dive into our page numbers on the master pages. Now, like I said, I don't want you going to page 2, page 3, page 4 and typing numbers in. That's not the way to do it. Instead, you're going to jump over to your master page. And by the way, if it didn't look like it did anything, let's say I was on the cover, then I double click the master. It's showing me the master left and right. All InDesign documents have a blank, at least one blank master page. So that wasn't something I had to create. As a matter of fact, if we go to our empty document, it's got master pages too. So master pages come in by default. Now the question becomes, where do you want your page numbers and how do you want them formatted? This is all up to you, and this is the part I was talking about. You can be creative with it. So for example, I'm just going to give you a basic example. Let's say you want your page numbers in the center of both pages at the bottom. Very basic example. So what I would do in that case is I would draw a frame, underneath where the copy is going to go. Keep in mind the margin area, you would have copy here normally or images here. We want it below the margin area and not into the bleed area because we don't want it to get cut off. So I'm just going to drag a frame out, and you can move it down a little bit if you don't want it touching the bottom of the content. And once I create that frame, I'll move it down just a couple hairs, and there it is. Now, what I'm going to put in that frame, and by the way, it was on center by default. Normally it would be on the left, but I'm going to go ahead and click center alignment. And what I would put in that frame is not the number 1, not the number 2. I would go up to my type menu, come down to insert special characters, markers, current page number, something you would have stumbled upon eventually in the next 10 years or so. Not very intuitive, not very self-explanatory, but there it is. Insert special character, because you would think page numbers are special. Insert special character, markers, current page number. All right, that will put an A there. And you're like, well, why is it an A? Because we're on the A master. So that's why it's an A. Now, I want that exact same thing on the other side. So I would go in and just, instead of me doing it all over again, creating a frame, centering it, typing or inserting the special character, I'm just going to hold down my Option or Alt key and drag it over. If I hold down the Shift key, it'll keep it perfectly aligned. And now all my pages have page numbers. Here, let me go show you. Let's jump to page 4. Page 4 and 5 have page numbers. Page 8 and 9 have page numbers. Page 12 has a page number. And unfortunately, page 1 will have a page number. We just don't see it because the content is covering it. But page 1 would have a page number on it too. There it is. So how would I not have that page number if my content wasn't covering it? So let me undo that. There we go. If my photo just didn't happen to be covering it up, maybe I don't have a photo that goes all the way to the edge, how would I get that page number off page 1? The easiest way is to use a master that doesn't have a page number. So you always have a none master, meaning this has nothing on it. And if I drag that on top of page 1, that gets rid of the page number. So even if I had content that wasn't going down that far, no page numbers there. If I ever wanted to get that back, just drag the A master onto it, page 1 comes back. Now there is another way for my slightly more advanced InDesign users. If you want to keep all your other items from the master page, you just want to get rid of the page number on a specific page, well, you can unlock it from the master on that one page or just delete it. So if I hit Command, Shift, and click, that unlocks the page number on this one page. And if I hit delete, sorry, I had the content selected too. But if I hit, here, let's just get the page number. There we go. If I hit delete, it's gone. Now, it's only gone on this one page. It's still on the master. It's still on all the other pages. But if you wanted to get rid of it just for that one situation, you could. So let's undo that. I don't want to get rid of it. I would just use the none master on page 1 to get rid of it. And then my content can come all the way back down. All right. Now let's get into some other ways to do this. So that was just the bare bones basic way to do it. Now, could you put other things in that frame? Yes. So if we go back to this one, let's delete this one for a quick second. You can have anything you want before or after the page number. So you could say, my great magazine. Apparently I'm in an all cap situation. Yep, magazine. There we go. And you could put a dash in there, and you could put whatever else you wanted in there. And then that's the way your page numbers would look. So if I were to again drag this over, now all my numbers are preceded with whatever text I typed in. So you can make it whatever you want. The name of your publication, the name of each chapter. There's ways to do that. You can put something after the page number as well. So the number is automatically generated. You're deciding if anything else goes with it. Now, another thing that we can jump back to is what if you, like for example, I started typing that and I noticed it was in all caps because I'm working in a template, and this is using a Montserrat font, light, all caps. That's just the way this template was set up. So that means that, and by the way, it's 14 point. Maybe I don't want my page numbers that big. So you can style this any way you want. You don't want all caps, don't use all caps. You don't want it to be 14 point, don't use 14 point. You want it to be a different font, make it a different font. You can make this anything you want it to be for your page numbers. Style it just like you would the rest of your text. All right, here's a question coming up from Sabir. What's an easy way to start the numbering from different pages or a chapter base? That's called a section break. Let me do that towards the end. Remind me again, but that's a good question. Let me finish this first, then we'll do a section break. All right, so now that we've seen some basic ways, and by the way, again, I put page number at the bottom. You want your page numbers in the upper left corner, upper right corner, put them there. You put the page numbers anywhere you want. Let me give you one more way to do this. One that I don't see that often, but someone did ask about it on the stream, and I said one day I'll show you how to do that on the stream, and this is that day. I'm going to go ahead and drag out a ellipse frame. And I'm going to position in the corner. I'm going to hold down my Option or Alt key so it drags out from the center. I'm going to hold down my Shift key so it keeps it proportionally constrained. So it basically makes a perfect circle. Now I'm going to take my Type tool and click into it. So now it's centered already in the circle at the top, even though it doesn't look it, but it's centered. And now I want to go ahead and go to my Type menu and come down. Oh, you know what? It's not centered. That's why it didn't look centered. Now it's centered. All right, let's go to my Type menu. Let's come down to, actually, let me go to my Object menu. I always forget where this is because I always do it from the keyboard. There it is. I always do Command B. That's why I never remember what menu it's under. But we're going to go to our text frame options. In our text frame options, I want to choose vertical justification centered as well. So basically, I'm telling my cursor to go from the left of the circle to the center and from the top of the circle to the center. So now my cursor will be in the center of that circle. Now, why don't we see the circle? Because it doesn't have a path on it. So let's go ahead and say that we want to put we'll use the red, sorry, not the fill. Sorry, not the fill, I meant the stroke. I could have toggled it, but there we go. We'll just go to stroke. And we'll make the stroke, and you can make it even something nice and thin. Let's say 0.5 or 0.25, make it a nice thin red stroke. Okay, so now that's gonna put my cursor there, give me my nice red stroke. I'm gonna go ahead and say the same thing, Type, insert special character, markers, and there's a keyboard shortcut for this as well. Page number, again, style it any way you want. And now that my page number is there, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to come back to the circle, and I'm also going to say that the circle itself has a text wrap around it. So that way, I get a nice text wrap, and my page number can intrude into my document, and that would be okay, because it would wrap around the page number. I can also make the page number bigger. This time it's by design. Make it nice and big. I can choose whatever font I want. I saw a nice engraved font. We'll make it that. And now we'll go ahead and move that over here as well. And yeah, I'll put it right there. Great. And so now my page numbers look like this. They have the nice big circle on them. And if I were to put some text in here, let's go to page 2. Let's put some text in. Let's say that we're going to go ahead and just fill this area with text. Over the page number, no problem. Left aligned, we will go ahead and say Type, insert with, or fill with placeholder text. And notice how the text comes in all caps. But anyway, it wraps around your circle. So that way, you can see. What do you mean you don't see what I'm doing? Okay, so is anyone not seeing what I'm doing? Oh, because it's behind my head? That's okay. Sorry about that. This is what I was doing. Sorry about that. I should have moved myself over. But all I did, here, let's go back. Let's go back in time. Undo, 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 undo. Put it back to the way it was. Undo, undo. I'll go back in time. As a matter of fact, I'll just recreate the thing from scratch since you couldn't see it. Sorry about that. So real quick, what I did, get rid of the circle because it's kind of, not fair if you couldn't see it. So we put it in the corner, hold down the Option key, hold down the Shift key, get a perfect circle. Then we click into that circle with the Type tool. and we aligned it to the center, and we went to our text frame options under object, and we vertically aligned it to the center. There we go. And then we insert the page number symbol under type, insert special character marker, markers, current page number. And then I made it have a red circle around it. So I went to the stroke. I chose the red that was already in the template. You use whatever color you want. I changed it to a 1/2 point stroke. And then the last thing I did was just change the font. So we make this engraved, Adorn engraved number 2, which is an Adobe font. And I think I made it nice and big so you could see it. Oh, not that big. Let's go smaller. There we go. Nice 24 point. And then I also just decided to make the circle bigger at the very end, held down my shift key, and just made it bigger. Then I duplicated it over to the other side. So let me keep that from behind my head. Option, shift, drag to the other side, and there it is. And I think it needs to be closer to the edge, like the other one. There we go. So that's what I did. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to be in your way. All right, so now I went to one of the document pages. And by the way, did I just do that on it? Oh, I was going to say I was scared I did that on a document page. There we go. I went to the document page and I just created a frame in that case. Frame anywhere you want, but over the page number would be helpful. And then left aligned, and I said type in, fill with placeholder type. Oh, one more thing. Undo. One more thing I forgot to do that I did last time. I chose the circle and I made it text wrap. There we go, text wrap. It was epic when it worked the first time without me having to go back and do this. All right, there we go. Type, fill with placeholder type. There we go. That's what I did last time. All right, so now anything that you want to wrap around that, we'll just wrap around it in the shape of the circle. And if you want the text not to touch the circle, go back to your master page, select your circle, and in your text wrap options, you can go in, I don't have the panel open, but let's go to text wrap, and you can specify how far away from that circle the text is allowed to be. So I would do the same thing on both circles. There we go. And now if I go back to page 2, the text shouldn't be touching it, and it's not. So that's how all of that was done. So just a creative way to have your text, have your page numbers be a little bit more decorative. So you can make those on top of images. You can make them, you can use a really creative font for the page numbers. You can make the page numbers a different color. You can have the fill for the circle be a different fill color. Anything you want to do creatively, you can do it. All right, so now with that said, let's talk about continuations. And that's the trick here. That's another one that you would never guess this one. In a million years, you'd never guess how this works. All right, so I have a magazine here. And this was the other template. So this was this template. And I just replaced the cover image. And so this one's got all this content already in it. So this all came with the template, which I'm surprised because most templates don't come with all the content. And you would go in and you would, of course, replace all this with your own content. That's why I'm surprised, because most of it would just have placeholders for your pictures. You wouldn't have to replace them all. You just place them. So let's do an example. This story, which was already here, starts in this frame, continues down to this frame, and ends. So this is a continuation. And to see that line going from one to the other, I went up to View, Extras, Show Text Threads. So if you turn it off, where it would normally default, you would hide the text threads. If you turn it on, Show Text Threads, it just shows you the line. So you can see wherever this is going to continue. Now let's say this needs to continue. We ran out of room for some reason on that page, and it needs to continue down here on whatever this page is. Go to my pages panel, I could probably figure it out. It needs to continue on page 14. All right, so we're on page 14. That's where it needs to continue. So we go back up to where it was, which I believe is here. And we say that, nope, I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to continue this on page 14. So I just jump over to page 14. And I now continue this text here. Boom. All right. So that goes all the way back up to page whatever this was, page 2. Now, your reader doesn't know that this continues on page 14 unless you tell them. They would have to just figure it out. So normally in a magazine situation, you would see something like see also, or no, not see also. You would say see editor's note or whatever on page whatever. They would basically spell it out that you got to go to page 14 to continue reading this. So we're going to do that with a continuation, a jump to in InDesign. So first we're going to create the first frame. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a separate frame. I'm going to right justify my type, so it's right justified. And I'm going to say C, or no, editor's note continues on, and you can see it behind my head. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. Continues on page, did 2 spaces there. There we go. Page space blank. I'm not going to type in 14. Don't do it that way. Instead, I'm going to say type insert special character, because they're special, markers, next page number, because that's self-explanatory too. Next page number. There we go. And you're going to, whoa, why has it got that in there? Hang on. Something weird's going on. Okay, there we go. It says page 3 because we're on page 3 apparently. So editor's note doesn't continue on page 3. We know it continues on page 14. The reason that this says page 3 is because it doesn't know anything about this frame. It doesn't know about this frame. It doesn't know which story we're talking about. How do we tell it that we're talking about this story, which continues on page 14? We wonder twin powers activate. If they're touching each other, they do a fist bump, they know about each other. So all we do is just simply drag this up to where it's touching the other frame. Boom, it now knows it's page 14. So as long as they're touching each other, that's all it would need to do. And you can space this out. You can align it down. You can put some header space above it. You could do what I did earlier. You could say text frame options, and you could align it to the bottom or vertically. Actually, let's do it. Or bottom vertically or center it. And that way you get a little bit more space. Great. That takes care of page 14. And if we drag it away, it says page 3 again. If we make them touch and we make them fist bump, it now says page 14 because it knows that, oh, you're talking about this story, therefore it continues on that page. Now, how do we go to page 14 and do something there? If we jump all the way down to page 14, where this continued, I believe it's this, yep. So we could pull this down a bit if we wanted to. We could put another new frame in. And we could say something like, left justify, we can say editor's note continued from page, don't type in a 3. We're going to do a type insert special character markers previous page number. And then it will, oh, I was like, why is it doing that? Because they're not touching. Threw me for a second. All right, same fist bump because it doesn't know which one we're talking about. There we go. Continues from page 3. So as long as they're touching, it will do it. Now, what does that mean? That means that if I decide to insert another page after the fact, but before page 13, insert, then this will now say, still says 3, but if we go back to page 3, wherever page 3 was, editor's note now continues on page 16. So it's keeping track of wherever this continues, no matter if it changes later. If you pick up the story and move it to a different page, and you pick up the little frame and move it with it, it'll always represent the right page numbers. So that's how we do a jump to, and that's how it keeps track of it from that point on. But again, none of this will work if the frames aren't touching. So once they touch, fist bump, just remember the fist bump, then it will always work. All right, last but not least, since someone asked about a section break, see, I remembered. We can go to a specific page and we can say, let's say we go to this page after page 16. Let's say that we want this to start page number 1 again for whatever reason, or page 18 should be number 1 again for whatever reason. You can create a number and sections options, and you can start a new section. So I just right-clicked on that page, went to section and number options, start a section, start the page numbering on whatever you want. So this will be a new page, it will start the page numbering wherever you want it to be, and click OK. And yes, I know, it's telling me it's going to break some stuff. But now if we go down, where did I tell it? So yeah, now that's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. And if this had an automatic page number on it, let's go fix that. Let's make some automatic page numbers real quick. We can even go steal them from the other document. Let's do that. Let's go grab this. Oh, on a master page. Let's go grab this and copy them. Well, Terry, you created those on another document. Doesn't matter. They're still the same symbols. And paste and put them where they go. There we go. And it's giving me weird colors because, oh, and this is not even the same page size. That's okay. We'll still make it work. There we go. And now if we go to that page, page 1, it has a 1 there. And now I created by the way, I created a overset situation because of the text wrapping. So this stops at page 17 and starts over again at page 1. So that's how you would start a section on a different, or with a new set of numbers in the same document. Okay. So Colleen's asking, put some hyperlinks back to where you came from. And I believe, if memory serves, doing the jump to will also serve as hyperlinks if you were making this a PDF or ebook. I think it does that automatically. I can't remember, but I think it just does it. All right, so with that said, I hope that answers your questions on page numbering, if you had any. I hope that gives you some creative ways to look at page numbering. They don't have to be just a number. They don't have to be just a static font. They don't have to be just a small number in a corner. They can be anything you want them to be, because you're just going to use the symbol, and then you're going to go to your master page when you create that symbol and style it any way you want. So your page numbers no longer have to look boring if they were looking boring to you. And don't forget about the jump to, when your story needs to continue on another page. Easy to have InDesign keep track of that automatically. All right, so with that said, cheers everyone. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one. Thank you for joining me once again on InDesign Tuesday. Bye everybody, have a good one.